Weekend soccer action is here, and this weekend I'll cover my best soccer picks and parlays across the EPL, Serie A, and La Liga. It'll be a bit shorter video this week as I've flown into England. Adjusting to the new schedule will take some time, so let's get into it with 8 different games across these 3 different parlays. Number 1, we'll start right here in England. It's Ipswich and Tottenham. It's 18th against 12th. There's 13 points between them, but it was Ipswich that won 2-1 when they met last time in London back in November. Now that's one of just 3 wins for Ipswich this season in the EPL, and it was their first of the season when they beat Tottenham last time. They have won 4 overall games since, which isn't good, but it is an improvement with only one of them, though, one of their last 6, and it was versus Coventry in the FA Cup. Last week, they drew Villa 1-1. They've now scored in 4 straight and 7 of their last 9. So even though they're not getting wins, they are often getting on the score sheet. Spurs are a team I usually like betting the both teams to score with, but they did just shut out Man U 1-0 last week, and they do have clean sheets in 3 of 5. It could still be worth a bet here. Like I said, Ipswich still usually get on the score sheet, and they're playing at home. Both teams still have a ton of missing players. We'll just simply ask for over 1.5 goals in this game. Next up, Aston Villa and Chelsea, also on Saturday. Chelsea won 3-0 in London in December, and last year it was 3-1 Chelsea and 2-2. Now, Villa have the home field here, where they've only lost once all season long, where they're 6-7-1. They drew at home Wednesday 2-2 with leaders Liverpool. Chelsea will be the more rested team. They haven't been poor on the road this season, 6-3-4. The road games are amongst the highest scoring games in the EPL at 3.4 goals per game. Villa's now drawn back-to-back games 1-1 and 2-2. They're balanced 5-5-2 in their last 12 overall games, very rarely losing though, scoring in 10 games, and 2 games where they didn't score, they were on the road. They'll be at home here. Villa actually haven't lost a home game in any competition in 13 games, and only once in their last 20. In the last 13, they've scored multiple goals 9 times, and the both team to score has gone 11-2. So while they don't often lose at Villa Park, they often do concede goals. The Blues have cooled off a bit after just 3 losses in 20 games. They've lost back-to-back games, both to Brighton, first 2-1 in the FA Cup, and then 3-0 in the EPL last week. There's been 3 or more goals, though, in 7 straight Chelsea games, and the both teams to score has gone 6-2. To me, on paper, this looks like a very obvious both teams to score bet, but we're going to try and create a very simple parlay here, and again, we'll just go over 1.5 goals. Finally, we'll go to La Liga in Spain, and it's Las Palmas and Barcelona. These teams are opposite ends of the table, 17th and 1st, and they couldn't be in any more contrasting form right now either. Barca regained first overall in the standings after beating an in-form Vallecano team 1-0 on Monday. That extends their undefeated streak to 12 games, where they're 10-2-0, and they've outscored their opponents by a whopping 42-12 across all matches. Las Palmas ended 2024 in good form, but once the calendar switched to 2025, they've fallen off a cliff, and they're 0-1-6 and been outscored 18-6. The only good thing is that they've scored in 6 straight, but never more than 1 goal, and 1 goal is likely not going to be enough to stop the surging Barcelona, who will have some revenge on their minds as they lost to Las Palmas at home back in November by a 2-1 score. So I think the both teams to score could be an option here. If you think Las Palmas can get on the score sheet, Barca to win and both teams to score also would be better odds as a straight bet, or to round out this parlay, just Barcelona to win. We'll take Barca to win, over 1.5 with Villa and Chelsea, over 1.5 Ipswich and Tottenham, would hopefully cash a relatively simple looking -136. Parlay number 2, be sure to check out the graphic as well. At the end of this video, I'll put a summary for these 3 different parlays. This will be all Serie A in Italy across Saturday and Sunday. We're just going to ask 3 better road teams to just get on the score sheet. It's Venezia and Lazio, 19th versus 15th. Lazio won 3-1 in the earlier meeting this season. Lazio are undefeated in 3 games now, with a 2-1 win, a 5-1 win, and a 2-2 draw. Just once in 8 games have they not found the score sheet. In all matches, Venezia have just 3 wins this season. Now, all 3 of those did come at home, and that's where they'll be here, but all versus teams not quite the caliber of Lazio in Genoa, Udinese, and Cagliari. In 2 of those 3, they still got scored on, and in 24 of 26 overall games this season, they've been scored on, plus as well in 20 straight games. Lazio should win this game. Certainly, I would expect them to get on the score sheet. Next up, Como and Napoli. On Sunday is 13th against 1st. Napoli already won 3-1 back in October when they last met. For Como, they've only won 3 times since that game, and just once in their last 4. But they did last week, shutting out Fiorentina on the road 2-0. Prior to that, they had allowed, though, 2, 1, 2, and 1 goal Betting over 1.5 in Como games is almost always a good parlay piece, as it's hit in 14 straight of their games as well. It's also hit in 9 of the last 10 Napoli games, in a streak that has seen them go undefeated at 7-3-0, but drawing each of their past 3 games by scores of 1-1, 1-1, and 2-2. They're not getting the win there, but they've still scored in all of those games. Naturally, being undefeated in this time, they've scored in each of these last 10 games as well, but the both teams to score is also 5-0 and 7-3 as well, so they're often conceding. If you believe Como will get on the score sheet, this looks like a great both teams to score bet. I will just ask Napoli to score. Finally, it's Verona and Fiorentina, 16th against 6th. Fiorentina won 3-1 in Florence back in November, but lost in this venue last year 2-1. They've only lost to Verona, though, once in 10 attempts and have scored in all 10 of those games. Now, they didn't score last week, losing to Como 2-0. They also lost 2-1 to Inter the game prior. It's also only 3 wins in 12 games for La Viola, and 2 were at home, where and on the road here, they have just 1 road win in 6. So I'm not going to feel confident about them necessarily getting the win here. But then Verona have been poor all season long, and they have just 1 win in 7 games. Now, they got routed 5-0 to Atalanta, then tightened up defensively, and only lost 1-0 to AC Milan last week. But in their last 22 games, they've kept the ball out of their net a whole just 2 times versus Monza and Udinese. So again, I see Fiorentina getting on the score sheet, Fiorentina to score, Napoli to score, Lazio to score, minus 125 in that parlay. Now, Lazio or Napoli bumping one of those 2 up to get the win certainly could maybe make those odds a bit better. And finally, 2 games we'll do on Sunday, both in England, where I am right now. It's Newcastle and Nottingham Forest. 7th Newcastle hosts 3rd Forest, with the 2 separated by 6 points. Now, when they met last, it was 3-1 Newcastle away to Forest in the EPL in November. Earlier, it was also 1-1 in the League Cup in August, with Newcastle also winning on the road in PKs. Last year, both teams won on the road in EPL, 3-1 Forest and 3-2 for Newcastle. And the meeting before that was also 2-1 Newcastle on the road as well. So the road has not been an issue for either of these teams, and the both teams to score has also hit in all of their last 5 meetings. Since Forest returned to the EPL, though, Newcastle's had much of the success, being 5-0-1. Newcastle got thumped 4-0 to Man City last week, and they've now lost 3 of 6, but have won 12 of 15, and haven't drawn any of those 15 games. They've also scored in 14 of 15 and 17 of 18. A 5-0 loss away to Bournemouth 4 games back is the only time in 13 games Forest haven't scored themselves, and they have scored multiple goals in 9 of those games as well. But last week was a 2-1 away loss to Fulham, and they've given up now multiple goals in 4 of their last 5. Newcastle at home, relatively good form, should score. They have plenty of players who can do so. For Forest, Morgan Gibbs-White has been directly involved in 9 goals in his last 11 EPL games, so he's in great form. Also, obviously, we have Chris Wood, still 3rd in the Golden Boot race with 18 goals, just 1 behind Haaland, 6 back of Salah. I would think Forest should get on the score sheet as well. We'll do a both teams to score between Newcastle and Forest, and conclude this parlay in maybe the biggest game of the weekend, Man City and Liverpool. It's unlikely that City's going to catch Liverpool now, being many points back, 16 points back in 4th. Now, holding on to the top 4 will be the priority. It's been an up and down week and a half for them. First, coughing up a 2-1 lead to Madrid in the Champions League and losing 3-2 last week. Then routing Newcastle 4-0 this weekend, and then playing Madrid again on Wednesday in the Champions League, where they were dominated and were losing 3-0 until they got a late meaningless goal to make it 3-1. City's attention will go now to staying in the top 4 in the EPL. Haaland and De Bruyne didn't play Wednesday. Haaland's knee injury could see him miss out again. Whether he's in or not, they still have plenty of players who can score, including the new signing Marmoush, who had a hat trick last week. Now, City usually always score, especially at home, but they have conceded in 21 of 26 games, so them digging the ball out of the back of their net is a regular occurrence. Liverpool also played Wednesday. They had to take the ball out of their net twice as well. They drew with Villa 2-2. They have been the better team all season, but they have seen a little bit of a dip lately, only winning 3 of 7 and 1 of 4, and they've given up a goal in each of their past 4. On paper, this always looks like it should be a shootout between these 2 EPL giants, but it was only 2-0 Liverpool this season when they last played, and 1-1 in both games last year. A 1-1 does all I need here for this bet. I'll ask both teams to score between Liverpool and Man City, paired with the Newcastle and Forest, both teams to score, to come in at plus 122 odds. So those are the best bets for this weekend's soccer action in Europe. Be sure to give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, become a member to get even more soccer picks. Be sure to share what you're betting down there in the comments, and good luck with your soccer predictions this weekend.